When I see vacant land, I say, food can be grown there. That's where it started. Just with sometimes along a continuum, you got to start small, you know, because many times if somebody gives you a lot of money and you don't have the skill set or anything, you just blow that money. So we're starting small. We don't have any money. Got a little van. Start picking up at grocery stores and restaurants and start composting. Start growing new soil. What we've taken from the soil should not be put in a hole kind of concept. It should be turned back into the soil. And then we have these wonderful little things called worms, red worms. And those we inject into the compost and create this super fertilizer called worm castings. And that's what we use to start growing the healthy food. Because believe it or not, many people, even though they're affluent, they're still eating bad. And I came from kind of a multicultural background near Washington, D.C., and I wanted to make sure that everybody was involved in this process, because the only way it's really going to sustain itself is you have to engage everybody, not just the very poor, but all levels of our society. So that's what we started to bring people in and create an environment that people wanted to come into. Because if you don't have an environment, if you have an environment just for one type of person or one type of people, that's all you're going to get. But having this local food system is the future. Having this smaller scale, what Paula was talking about, this smaller scale footprint with lots of people involved. Because in the U.S., to fundamentally change the food system, we need 50 million new people growing food. And I'm not talking about this large scale farming stuff. I'm talking about on their porches, in pots. I'm talking about in the backyard, side yards. I'm talking about in the community gardens. I'm talking about in the plot just right down the street here that I just saw with the railroad tracks going through it. Places like that where you'll see 300 people out there growing food and enjoying themselves with their kids after work, you know, on the weekends. Like today, they would be out there creating meals on the space and enjoying themselves. I can start a garden with a hoe, a rake, pretty much a fork, and a wheelbarrow. I can grow as much food as you want and some seeds and this stuff. This is how we make it. We steal it from that guy. So you guys drink a little beer, don't you? So we have all these breweries, and they have those spent grains. So we take those spent grains. In Milwaukee, Milwaukee used to be the beer capital of the world. And we also have wood chip. We have a lot more trees probably than you guys have here. And we're getting this wood chip. So the city gives us that free. And moldy hay, we have a lot of farmers that do hay and it rains and the hay's no good. So we actually pay those farmers and it helps those farmers and they bring that moldy hay and that becomes part of the recipe as well. And fruits and vegetables that are sitting right over here. You need that nitrogen waste. And a lot of times it never leaves that carton because on its way on that ship over here, it gets frozen or it goes bad. So they just dump the whole thing into those big dumpsters and goes and gets put in the hole. So we rescue that, thousands and thousands of pounds. And then it breaks down and you can see the houses right over there. And people always ask me, how can you all do it with all those houses around? Because we've built those relationships with the community. And I can't guarantee you that a whiff of bad odor won't go over there every now and then. But guess who they'll call if you've done your homework? If you built that, they'll call us before they'll call the city and complain. And now that you have this wonderful finished compost, we need a value-added product. It's called worm castings. So we feed that to these guys, red worms. We have 5,000 pounds of those guys. And those are our other employees. We have millions of other employees. We have 35 humans, but these are almost as important. This is probably the hottest thing going right now, vermicomposting around the world, because of what the worms can do to waste and turning it into a high nutrient compost that works better than anything out there in a chemical state. So, but you have to have patience, because when you put chemical fertilizer on that plant over there, next day you'll see a reaction. But with worm castings, you may have to wait 5 days before you start seeing the reaction. But the reaction lasts for a long time without you having to do it. But with a chemical piece, you're going to have to, every time you water, put chemicals on it to keep that plant looking good. And then you make this wonderful tea. Every 5 pounds of this worm castings can produce 25 gallons of liquid fertilizer. And remember, this is from a waste product. You aerate it to bump up the microbial activity, and then you spray it on your plants just like you would chemical liquid fertilizer, and you get better results. It's also an insect repellent. It also, when you spray it on, insects don't seem to want to invade the leaves where this product is on. And you can eat that product same day. So once you have your compost, your vermicompost, you can do some other things. Like you can raise fish. We live in an area where it's the largest body of fresh water in the world, the Great Lakes. We live right on Lake Michigan. But guess what? The water's contaminated. There's a certain fish that's a favorite fish of Wisconsinites that you can't commercially fish for. It's called lake perch. So we raise lake perch at our facility. Down below those plants, there's 10,000 gallons of water on the right, 10,000 gallons on the left, and all we do is pump the water up, let it matriculate through the roots of watercress, and it falls back into the system. We recirculate the same water over and over again. The ammonia that the fish give off, their waste, their solid waste goes to the bottom, just like in a river or stream. Ammonia comes off, it changes to nitrate, then to nitrite. The plants take out the nitrate. So the fish survive. It's a water conservation system, so a lot of countries like in Asia and Africa that have come there, they want these systems. They are simple to build. This entire greenhouse structure and the 2 systems cost $5,000. A commercial system like that would cost $100,000. It's a revolution. So I've labeled this a good food revolution. So you'll be hearing about that. Not called a movement anymore, it's a revolution. And Michael Pollan and others are talking about that and writing books about it and capturing and really talking about the current industrial system that I've seen in your country here. Where much of that food is being shipped. I can get peppers in the wintertime in our grocery stores in Milwaukee that have the Holland label on it. Beautiful big peppers. But they're grown in a chemical system. They're shipped, put on a plane and flown over, and they wind up at wholesalers who distribute those to our stores. So this taking our food system back under control is what Paula was talking about. Is being able to grow that food not only for your families, but also to market it locally. And to be able to keep that money in the local community. Because we're in this very stressful time where our industrial complex is crashing all around us. So to protect ourselves, we have to develop this more local food system around the world. So thank you very much.